Did you say I'm early? Well, that's a good thing, right? 2 minutes early. All right, well, take your time. I'm not in any hurry. I just got to be on that floor by 3. Is that fair enough? Or in that film room, I should say.
Scott's
Take
our
your
official
time.
timekeeper. He keeps time.
Let's see. Today's
Kim, I saw some stuff with Angel on Twitter earlier today. Why is it you feel like she has to continually, I guess maybe defend herself, for maybe a lack of a better word? Why is she in a position to where she's constantly having to maybe battle with that?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Give me some more specific stuff. Remember, I don't do social media. I barely do reading newspapers anymore, so.
Yeah, she's just having continually talk about, her on-court demeanor. And she's just in a constant, seems like almost a constant state of having to, just to defend how much passion she plays the game of basketball with.
Honestly, I can't answer that question because I don't really engage in social media stuff. I will ask her today, maybe more detail what you're talking about. Maybe it's the technicals that she's gotten, the things like that. I don't find that she's a dirty player. I think she plays extremely hard. I think she's passionate. She likes to talk out there, but that's what ballers do. They talk, I guess trash is what you say, but, social media, I mean, do I need to say any more? I mean, if you're going to engage in social media and read all that stuff and believe all of that and bicker back and forth with all that, I don't even know what to say because I don't do it. We have the accounts, and my coaches and Grant control all of that. I don't know, but I'll ask her. Thanks for bringing it to my attention because I don't want anything to distract her, from anything. Keep doing what you're doing.
Kim, I asked you earlier in the year about only having a few SEC teams in the top 25, and you said it's because everybody lost a lot last year. Talk about what you've seen, just your analysis of playing so many games, only a few left, what the future looks like, the young players, and can you see in a year or two where the SEC is going to have more ranked teams in the top 25?
I think we should have a couple more ranked teams in the top 25 this year. I do. And I think you know who those teams are. It's just you have to be careful in your scheduling because if you overschedule, they'll think that you don't belong in a top 25, but yet the selection committee thinks you should get a top 16 seed. So it's just do what you got to do as a coach to get recognition for your program. But as far as what I have observed in this league, we've got a couple of people that deserve to be in the top 25, a couple more.
Coach, with the postseason coming up, how would you assess where y'all are as far as field goal percentage defense?
Man, you sneaking in my house at night and seeing what I write down?
Not at all.
You see that piece of paper right there? That's going to be the first thing I cover with these kids. So you know a thing or two about this game. And my talk to them today will be about reminding them what our goals are on the defensive end and what we haven't really done very good the last 4 or 5 games. We just think throw that out there, we're going to get in a track meet and we're going to outscore you. That's going to win you games. Field goal percentage defense is a big part of my presentation today before we ever get to Vanderbilt. I like that question. So to answer your question, it better get better. We better all get on the same page. I better have 5 LSU players on that floor all knowing what we're doing at the same time and not just one-on-one defense. And I think we've gotten away from that for whatever reason. Start with me, not emphasizing it every day in practice. Start with me on allowing it to happen, but I'm going to get their attention about that today.
Would speak about Sasha Washington, the player,
and Harbison, and
yeah,
they
got some players who are playing very well,
playing really good. They've won Arkansas, Kentucky, 2 of their last SEC games at home. They're shooting the ball from the three very, very well. I think, did I see 7 maybe that they're making a game now? You know that matchup, and I don't even know if I want to call it matchup anymore because Coach Katie from Georgia told me it wasn't a matchup, but I old-fashioned call that a matchup zone, and they're really good. Vanderbilt's really good at that. I think if they do their 2-2-1 3/4 court, trying to slow you down, trap you some at half court, back to their zone, I think it can create problems. They're playing at home, and they're playing good. They're playing very confident right now.
Hey, Coach, coming off the Ole Miss game to the Florida game, what did you see from LaDeja and how aggressive she was, and is that how you want her to approach the games moving forward?
Well, I want all of them to be aggressive. I think a lot of it has to do with the opponent and their style of defense. Guys, Ole Miss, and I said this that night, plays outstanding defense. Their speed, their quickness, their lateral speed allows them to really compete. And in fact, I told Coach Yo after the game how impressed I was. I'm just an old-fashioned, old-school coach that when I recognize coaches stressing defense, it warms my heart, and I always need to tell that to the opponent. And I just think she has really emphasized defense. So maybe the defense is why LaDeja did what she did in the Florida game. Maybe why Jasmine did what she did in the Florida game. It may be because I had 2 starters sitting on the bench in the first quarter. Whatever it is, we need them to continue to give us points, rebounds, play defense on the other end of the floor, get back to field goal percentage defense, get back to dominating the boards. And you got 2 games left. If you can win these 2 games, you can finish second in this league. The only way anything would change is if you lose both or one, or if South Carolina, loses to Tennessee or something like that. But just control what we can control. And Vanderbilt, playing there, I've never coached there. I know it's an odd situation where you're coaching from the end zone, but I think they let you go on the sideline now. That's going to be very different for me, but we've got to figure it out and go try to win another road game, and then come back and play a very, very energized Mississippi State team that's on the bubble. They're playing good. Their guards are really good off the dribble. Carter's really doing well. They're excited with their new coach, and I've watched a couple of their games of late, and you know who they've beaten. So 2 tough games again, and they're not ranked. So I don't know that any of us really understand or value what a ranking is. Ranking is a recognition for a program and nothing more. But if you were to ask me, I just think if you're looking late and you watch across the country, our league is holding its own.
Can you talk about recruiting this time of year? It's state championships are next week. And how much film do you watch? Is there like a time set aside almost every day where you watch film of high school classes? Or
No,
is
don't
there a
do
time
it.
of year where there's more of it?
Don't do any of that. We do most of our watching with our eyes in the summer. We know in the summer we're in gyms, daylight till dark for periods of time. We're scattered all over. By the end of summer, you know who you want. We need to look at this one. We don't need to eliminate this one. Hey, we need to go see that. That's kind of what you do all summer. What you do during our season is you go watch them play. You're watching them play. You're not necessarily watching them play to evaluate if you want them or not. You usually know that you want them. You're there to let them know, we're here. And it's hard because while our state championship in Louisiana is just up the road, I'd like to be there every night. But then we got to go and head to South Carolina for the conference tournament. So until the schedule comes out, till we see who's going to be in it, we'll just have to sit down and make that decision.
You try to send an assistant?
I try to go. I went last year, and I don't even think I'm trying to think if I watched anybody that we're actually recruiting, or just make sure that somebody from LSU had a presence there in support of our high schools and high school association. But yes, when we leave to go to South Carolina, depending on what the schedule is, we'll make a decision on who stays behind, if we can watch a team play, or if we leave multiple coaches behind. And I got to count the days, how many days we've used. There's just a lot, that you have to think about.
Go to Michael Caldwell and ask a couple of questions while I have the mic. Did you see the end of the South Carolina Ole Miss game in regulation? Did
As
you have a
much
chance to
as
see it?
I could see through a blurred computer up in the air, ever how many thousand feet we were traveling back from
'Cause
Florida.
They're one possession away from you guys
And-
having a chance to tie for
yeah,
the regular season
yeah.
championship.
Ole Miss is good. It makes our win look a little bit better, doesn't it? I told you after that game, give credit to Ole Miss. They're really good. I did not see, but about the last, maybe 40 seconds, maybe minute of the game. But I'm looking at it blurry. I'm trying to think, okay, did they set a screen right there? Who's got? And I'm screaming, get Baker the ball. I'm coaching Ole Miss's team because I figured Baker would have the ball. But yeah, that's all you can ask as a coach, is to give yourself an opportunity to upset or beat somebody you're not supposed to beat. And they gave themselves that opportunity. And then on the other hand, you got to give South Carolina credit because they're still the only undefeated team in the country.
My other question was going back a little bit to what Corey said, but the technical that Angel got Sunday and the technical that I think Rickard's got, they seem similar.
I wish none of us would get technicals.
Well, I understand.
Okay, but Angel said, yeah, I deserved it. She
Okay.
just ran over there and she told me what she said, and she said I deserved it. I don't know what the opponent's kid did. I have no idea.
My question is, do you think women are held to the same standard as men in terms of a little, like you said, a little trash talk, a little barking at the opponent? Are they held to a little higher standard? That it seems like maybe that. It seems like maybe that wouldn't be a technical in a men's game.
I don't want to just make a blanket statement because I haven't been on the bench during a men's game. I'm watching a men's game like y'all are from afar. I will say this. I've always said the men's officials have a better feel for the game, for whatever reason, than the men's officials. Now, is that because than the women's officials? Is that because on the women's side, your supervisor is grading you? Is your shirt tucked in? Are you in shape? Do you look like you're sweating too much? Is your belly too big? I don't know how the criteria goes into play on what it is the women's supervisors or whoever grades the women's officials versus the men's. I have watched enough basketball that I feel like I've seen heat of the moment, just out of the box, could have called a technical immediately because they were out of the box, but I've watched officials on the men's side control that situation and nobody got a technical, and that's what I'm talking about. Just get a feel for the game. And yet I've watched coaches that get a technical immediately on the women's side because they stepped out of a box. Now, I'm going to use this as an example and tell you because it involves me. I was trying so hard last year at the conference tournament to get tossed. Y'all remember that? Coaches do these things sometimes to send a message to their players. We're leaving there. We're getting ready to go to the playoffs. You remember the game I lost the previous year to UConn where my kid got raked? And I said, we got to get these calls down pat. And all that's going through my mind. So the game's over. I'm trying to get tossed. And I don't. And I've told this to the officials that call that game. Understand what I'm doing. I know you respect me and you really don't want to toss me, but I deserve to be tossed. The next game, my dear friend Christy Curry gets tossed immediately. Well, that was because they didn't do, in my opinion, what they should have done to me. Now, this is just my honest opinion. And I've shared this with the supervisor of officials and say, this is what I'm talking about on getting a feel for the game. I don't know. It's hard. Nobody wants to be an official. It's probably like being a police officer now, you know, and I have such respect for them. But please understand that I'm not complaining about officials. Don't send me a reprimand. I'm trying to answer your question in a way where I do think what may be important to one set of supervisors may be different between the men and women. But I think you should ask that question to maybe people who are supervisors and officials. I don't know, but it's been fun to grow up and watch how certain officials handle coaches, and then watch how some of them handle coaches that, you know, have been given instructions, you know, that maybe they're just not comfortable enough or older enough to be able to handle certain coaches that have been doing it a long time. I don't know, but yeah.
Kim, you're very engaged with your assistants and players during games. With the setup at Vanderbilt, I mean, will you stay in front
I
of
don't
them
know.
near the baseline?
I
or-
have no idea because I'm very engaged. I keep one of them there with everything I want to run, and I'll tell her, look at this, make sure we're doing, and then I'll say something to Bob about matchups. So you're right. I'm constantly talking to them because each of them has a different responsibility. While I ultimately make the final call, I can't do it all. And as you're seeing across the country, if you're watching, a lot of head coaches have assistant coaches drawing up out of bounds plays throughout the game. And then you're watching them draw up plays at the end of the game. And I haven't gotten that brave yet to let go and allow my coaches to do that. Now, I listen to their instructions, but I'm still the one in charge. That's going to be new for me. I have no idea. When we practice there tomorrow, I'll figure it out and try to make it work. And everybody else has to do the same thing. So, yeah, that's going to be different. Yeah. It's going to be different sitting there on the baseline watching, kind of like probably y'all have to do a lot, right? We give y'all the cheap seats, right? And y'all got to go do that, you know. But I'll keep fighting for y'all to get better seats. I promise you. I'm going to fight for you, all right?
If you really want to get tossed, isn't there some surefire magic words that you can use?
Well, I did use them. I'll be honest, I used them. And my mother was sitting in the front row, and I just said, Mom, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I should have been tossed. I told them what I was trying to do. You got to toss me there. But I also, if you'll remember, didn't want the player for the other team to think that was frustration at her. I winked at her because she was just like staring at me. And I don't ever want another player to think those are moments that you're going after them. It was just the time. It felt right. And, yeah. I haven't been tossed much. I don't even know. I know. I don't even think I've gotten teed up this year. I know my very first toss was in Lubbock, Texas, and I didn't mean to get tossed. You know, some coaches say they don't mean to get tossed. I didn't. I think the official thought I was giving a gesture, and I was basically just saying she got fouled on the arm. And, yeah, and then I can't remember the others. Not many.
Is there a difference between the Big 12 and the SEC?
Well, you pretty much have them cross over to all the conferences. I think officials call more in some conference, probably based upon where they live. I don't know, probably based on money. I don't know. I should know all that, but I just don't spend a lot of time. But you do see officials when you've been doing it as long as I have that you're very comfortable with. And when I say comfortable, maybe I should say very familiar with. And you're going to see a lot of young, new officials. You know, the officials are going to retire like coaches, so you've got to bring in new ones to fill their spots and give them experience.
Got time for a couple more questions. Remember to hit on the seniors.
Oh, I wasn't gonna ask about the seniors, but Flage, asking about a freshman. Flage, that second half she had, how big was that for her and just moving forward into her first, obviously, postseason?
Florida game was a confidence builder for her. It's a confidence builder for Jasmine. You saw her hit some threes. You saw Flage kind of get that pep back in her step. She got the 2 fouls. Alexis Morris got the 2 fouls, and they both sitting over there by me. So to come back and respond the way she did, I've grown to expect it now. And I would be disappointed if she didn't respond and just play physical and play tough and do some good things out there. And I thought she did at Florida.
I guess per Grant's request, if you could just touch a little bit on the seniors.
Seniors. Coming up the Mississippi State game, let's start with Emily. When I look at that young lady, I think, man, Kramer, you need to marry a young lady like that. She is as Christian and fine a human being as you will ever coach. And that's not by accident. That's how she was raised. She's a team player. She is positive. She's just one that you want in your program. And when she goes in the game, she doesn't hurt you. She's not a liability. She'll go in and get a bucket for you. She'll go in and get a rebound or a steal. Everybody loves Emily Ward. And she is going to, if she's not already admitted, into a master's program here. And I'm sure if her mom hasn't talked her into trying to be a coach, I won't be able to talk her into it. But, boy, she would be such an asset in the coaching business. Jasmine Carson knew she could shoot the 3 ball. Challenged her all year to get better and stronger on the defensive end. Just be mean and tough. And I think Jasmine, without question, will tell you this has been her best year of college basketball. And we're certainly grateful she chose to play for us. She was so close to breaking records in the Florida game the other day, and I had no idea all that stuff with the number 3s she had. I just knew one she took. I thought, oh, Lord, that's NBA range and more. Jasmine is already graduated from college, so she chose to come here to try to help us revive this program. And she's played such a role because she takes a lot of pressure off the post players when you can, spot up and shoot those perimeter shots. LaDasia Williams, the one thing I spoke to LaDasia about is you can't come here and be hurt all year. Every time I looked at Missouri, you seemed to be hurt. You weren't in the lineup. You weren't even with the team. Whatever the reason is, you have to come here and you have to play. And knock on wood, she's played. She's a quiet, mature, very mature. You never, ever hear much out of her. She sometimes, honestly, gets lost with y'all. Maybe take for granted the value of her getting 10 rebounds because Angel Reese may have a double-double already. She quietly does her job on the floor. You saw her in the Florida game hit a bucket at the high post. She's very capable of doing that. Her turning, and basically it's somewhat of a hook shot, is pretty automatic in her world. She told me a lot about herself when she came here knowing the weapons we had, and she was confident enough to go, I can help you. I will do my thing, and I will help you, Coach. Old Morris, Lordy mercy. She and I go back to the 7th grade. And I can't tell you enough about how it feels when someone you dismissed from a program wants to come back and play for you. It tells you her inner soul deep, deep down. It tells you, as a coach, always do what you think is right. And these kids will realize that and not hold it against you. Alexis Morris could write a book, because I don't know that I have ever had a young lady or I will ever have someone that I've dismissed from a team come back and play for me. And that tells you enough about her. Her skills set, if you watch her play, quick as lightning. Honestly, sometimes I struggle with, do I need the ball in her hands or do I need to put her at the off guard? Because, with the ball in your hands, you got to do so much. You got to make the first pass. You got to call out the offense. Where sometimes maybe I just need to push her over there and let her shoot. That's what she did for us last year. So I am indebted to Alexis Mars for not just coming to play for me again, but honestly for the lessons she can teach in life by her story. Did I cover them all?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we good? Everybody have what they need?
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Thank y'all.